Welcome to the December 14th, 2021 episode of Reactive Consciousness, the in-depth podcast about what happened this week in our lives. I'm your host, vysethebold, and this is...
Lotus Prince.
And we have another beautiful, wonderful show here. You will notice that we are going to avoid a very obvious subject, and that would be the video game awards for this year. And that's because I believe that we have enough to talk about in Corrective Consciousness on its own. So we will be pushing out our Ghostbusters discussion one more week, just so we could cover that and give it its time, because there's a lot of good games to talk about there, and uncharacteristically I played a whole bunch of them, which is not characteristic of me. I usually lag behind, but this year I actually bought and played a lot of them. So very happy to talk about that, but we will have to do that on Thursday. But instead we'll talk about some touchy subjects. So the first thing that we're going to address is that there's been a lot of unionization talk going on. And,
is that what the word was? I learned chemistry, so I thought it was unionization.
If it's not unionization because it doesn't have an O.
No, that's true, and it doesn't make me cry.
Yeah,
there's layers.
But yeah. So I'll first state this. We're if you couldn't tell by now, Lotus and I are pretty left of center, and we're largely in favor of unions in general.
But even on a purely selfish level, we like fucking getting paid.
Yeah. So first of all, I have to give some background. Both of my parents were teachers, so therefore they were unionized in the state of New Jersey, and it's a very good thing, to be quite honest. Now, I'm not to say that unions don't have their problems. They absolutely do.
There are scummy members of unions, and there are unions that exist just to take an extra couple bucks out of your paycheck. But for the most part, unions fight the giant corporate machine. Without unions, we'd still be working 7 days a week, and children would still be working in factories.
That's right. I think a lot of people don't realize that a lot of the luxuries that we have we weren't just given those. We had to fight for them, and they have a well-established, laws because of and standards because of what unions have fought for in the past. And,
pretty much every right you have in the workplace is because the people at the workplace are obligated to give them to you. If they would exploit them, then they would.
Yeah, let's not sugarcoat it. There's a reason why sweatshops exist in other countries, and it's because they haven't had the wherewithal or the support of the government to unionize. And they've been getting taken advantage of in that way. And we've seen that companies will offboard to those places because it's worth their money.
Yeah, and again, America used to be that place. You'd have little kids getting sucked up in heavy machinery in factories and fucking dying. That was just what happened sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. And they chose children because, first of all, they were cheap. Yep. Second of all, they would pick orphans because nobody could fight for them a lot of times, or extremely poor people, or both. And they would choose children because they were small and could get into little tiny dangerous spaces that adults could not. And of course, sometimes they got caught up in the machinery because of that. So yeah, that is horrifying and awful, and there's a good reason to fight to make sure that has stopped. But I did want to mention that Kelloggs has fired everybody at their plant that were striking. They weren't unionizing; they were just striking.
Yeah, wasn't it in response to something like literally a 3-cent raise or something like that?
Oh yeah,
and they were you
ridiculous.
could take those 3 pennies that I could find on the ground and shove them up your ass.
Yeah, exactly. And it's more of a spite thing at this point. They just don't want to give it to them.
Well, that's just not a race. Like, I know mathematically it's a race, but, like, that's not a race.
No. So, as a result, I'm sure there were other stipulations. It wasn't just that. But as a result, they fired everybody, which is uncharacteristic. Usually that doesn't happen.
Yeah, usually that's a bluff. Like, you wouldn't fire everybody, but, like, no, they did it.
And as a result, the internet at large has taken their revenge on them in a fantastically satisfying way.
Yeah, after firing everybody, well, I mean, the site always existed, of course, but they had a call out for people who wanted to start working there, basically scabs. For those of you who may not know what a scab is, it's somebody who works for a company...
Passes the picket line.
Yeah, who passes the picket line to work for a company while people are striking, so the company gets to stay open and the strikers don't get to do the damage they're trying to do. Generally a shitty thing to do. So they were like, so suddenly we're looking for people to work for us. So Reddit and probably other places on the internet just absolutely spammed that website with applications, like just bogus applications.
Bogus applications,
and just killed the bandwidth of that site and shut it down.
Yeah, so I mean they're probably gonna go around and hire through like hiring websites, you know, like
oh, no doubt, yeah,
like,
but like
LinkedIn and things like that. But
yeah, I'm still making a point though, like fuck you and your bullshit too.
Exactly.
By the way, apropos of nothing, maybe you know this. There's a chance you might know this. You know how cornflakes is famously bland?
Yeah, it was meant to stop you from being sexually aroused.
Yeah, like I think they associated
I'm not even lying.
Sugars with like arousal and masturbation. The Kellogg's cornflakes is literally meant to be bland and tasteless in order to combat masturbation because masturbation is sinful. Like that's literally why cornflakes is what it is. If you like the taste, good for you. Nothing about that, but like. That was the intent behind it.
There was a comedy film called The Road to Wellville with Matthew Broderick in it that, you know, isn't a documentary or anything, but has some factual basis that was that used to be played on Comedy Central pretty frequently. That was about the Kelloggs and their like crazy stupid family that used to have like a compound where people would go and basically get tortured by, you know, their wellness activities and restrictions, when basically all that stuff did absolutely nothing to you. And like the guy was a little crazy person, like just couldn't handle the fact that you. He was a vegetarian way before that was a thing back in the 1800s, and. He was very afraid of masturbation, like very afraid of it. Which I don't know, but anyway.
Yeah, was he constantly surrounded by people who are masturbating? Like, what the fuck's the problem?
He was an extremely religious person, therefore a very religious Christian who just was very.
Boy, would
staunch.
he have been mad if he had learned that there's nothing in the Bible about that?
It falls under sodomy, but yeah.
Oh, what do you mean the story with Lot? Because his problem was, like, he was going to have sex with somebody, but then he spilled his seed. It wasn't about masturbation.
Yeah. Well,
like, that was a direct defiance of God rather than just what he did.
Look, Lotus, this is all they got. There's really
I know, it
nothing
really
wrong
is all
with
they
it.
got. It was the same thing with the city of Sodom. It's like, it's not that they were having gay sex, it's that they were worshipping the flesh above God, and false idolatry is not allowed.
Yeah, but anyway, there's your Old Testament Torah.
Yeah, it turns out if you actually read the Bible at all, then a lot of stuff falls apart with the people who claim to have read it.
Yeah, I don't. We don't want to get into all that, but
what we do want to get back into is cornflakes for meant to keep your masturbation down.
So no fun allowed. But Kellogg's cornflakes were then marketed by the guy's brother, the crazy guy's brother, and he made like millions off of it, obviously.
Yeah,
and,
it actually is an alright cereal. That's the funny part.
That's well, you know, and then they turned it into like, you know, an empire here.
Yeah.
You know, so So anyway, the CEO is making millions of dollars, and all of his workers are suffering. It's fucked up. I mean, they own a lot of different brands. They own Kashi, which you might not even realize.
I don't even know what that is.
Kashi's like the cereal you buy if you are rich, and it's more highfalutin, and you might think it's healthier for you.
Is it related to Koosh? Remember Koosh?
Like Koosh balls?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
I'm look it up, kids. No, I'm not.
Rosie O'Donnell used to shoot them at her audience back when she had a talk show.
Jesus, that's weird.
But anyway, that was a very 90s thing, Koosh balls. Like a thing made out of rubber bands.
My brother had a little basketball hoop on his closet.
Yeah. But I used to have like the flingers, like so you could knock over cans and stuff with them. But anyway, the reason. And one other component is Starbucks has been actively trying to discourage their employees from unionizing, and
of course.
The very first first location has successfully unionized.
Yeah, Buffalo, New York, I believe.
Yeah, I would not be surprised. They've been trying to bust them in any way possible.
Corporations are terrified of unions because it's people standing up to their bullshit.
Yeah, they have to be. They have to start, being accountable, and also they will make less profits. Now, I don't think that's a bad thing, making less profits, if it's a just human decency thing of just giving people a living wage while you're making billions of dollars. Starbucks certainly is, so I have no sympathy for that.
Yeah, like if you're making, like I'm making these numbers completely up, I don't know what anybody makes, but if you're making $2 billion and you get slashed down to $1 billion and nobody told you, you would never know.
I've said this for a long time. Like, eventually, you've made so much money that even like a quarter, if you got busted down to a quarter of it, it wouldn't change your lifestyle.
Yeah, you
whatsoever.
would not even notice if nobody told you.
Exactly. That's what happens to, Bezos and Elon Musk, like, all the time. Like, they have fluctuations in their stock value.
But
sometimes they'll lose like half their value, but like, sometimes, or whatever, a big chunk of their value. It doesn't even matter. I mean, they have everything they could ever want or ever buy anyway. So who gives a shit?
Yeah.
So anyway, it's not like I thought about this, Lotus. I read an article where if you made 80 grand, each adult in the house made 80 grand, and you had a moderate amount of debt, and had plenty put aside for emergencies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Supposedly, you can't get any happier than that because of money. Like,
yeah, I heard that I read somewhere that the proportionate amounts, money and happiness, like I think at around $300,000, that's like the cap.
Yeah,
like if you get $400,000,
what else are you doing at that point?
I guess.
like you have the house you want, you have the car you want. What else could you buy more houses and cars? I mean,
toys. I don't fucking know.
Exactly. I mean, if you want to start a business, I can understand that, right?
Well, yeah, that absolutely requires capital, but that's not your life. That's like the business. I know that business is tied to life because that's how you make money, but like, you just living your life and a business are separate things.
What I mean is, what I'm getting at is that your returns get lower and lower each raise you get after that, because it means less and less to you. It absolutely does, because
there comes a point where you just look at the number and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Still coming
it's
in.
Just a number. Yeah, exactly. But anyway, so I don't know, what I first of all congratulate those people at that Starbucks for actually being able to do it. A very difficult thing, and also a thing that takes a lot of bravery. Because you're getting all kinds of pressure from all kinds of people all over the internet, and also weirdos that make it their business that this union shouldn't be forming, even though it's none of their business.
I've never been to Starbucks in my life, but this really makes me mad.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, this is really great, and also takes some guts. I mean, who knows? They'll try everything they can in order to intimidate them or get rid of them. I know they will. They may even
does. Why wouldn't they?
They might even give them try to give them a severance to get them to quit. Like give them a whole bunch of money just so the union will go away. I wouldn't be surprised.
Hate unions and always have for like how long has it been? Like a century or maybe more?
Well, longer than that. Yeah, I mean, basically turn of the 1900s. So
okay.
So where we're getting at with this is that Activision is seeing that this is happening, and Activision is the top of the shithead block at the moment.
God, yeah.
They decided to double down even more on it and try to intimidate their workers via email about
they sent out an email
unionizing.
Of like, it was super funny because like it's like thinly veiled threats. It's like, well, as you're about to make this decision that will affect your life, and stuff like this that we're not gonna say don't unionize, but don't because unionize.
They can't. Yeah, no, they're basically all but breaking the law. Like when it comes to this,
what I thought was really entertaining, by the way, is I saw a Twitter post about this, which is that like I forgot word for word what it says, but it said something like Activision is being like so unabashedly shitty that it's like starting to make waves of various companies like starting to unionize.
Yeah, exactly.
They're like accidentally like. There's an expression for this, but they're accidentally doing the exact opposite of what they intended.
It's like reverse psychology, I guess, or something similar.
Yeah, like accidental reverse psychology or whatever it was. But
yeah,
like,
exactly.
Yeah, like hopefully companies everywhere start doing this shit. Like, is this the kind of boss that you want?
Well,
or the kind of boss that could happen?
Is that wages... A lot of people have short memory of this or weren't alive when it happened, but... there was a heavy unionization effort in the United States, from the 1920s all the way through the 70s and even in the 80s, right? And then the 80s is when it got busted up by basically the Reagan administration, and the unions were still there, but they got significant less power over time, but. Here's the thing: there was a lot of prosperity in the economic area of America during the late, the 80s and 90s. After that scandal in the 80s, the financial scandal, things got prosperous again back in the 90s, and so people didn't have the drive to unionize as much because wages were relatively good compared to their time, but people don't realize this, but like companies have been getting away with fucking murder ever since 2008 happened.
Yeah.
Because essentially they had a hiring market where like people needed jobs, like there was a job shortage, and they couldn't fulfill those jobs. And so people, there were too many people for those jobs, rather. So they could basically give people pittances. And also, that was during the time where people, they really scaled down on their staff as well. They got rid of tons of their staff in 2010. Companies in general just did this. And it stayed that way until now. Wages didn't really increase at all. Places didn't hire more people. Retail, any person working retail during the last 10 years can tell you that everybody is massively understaffed. Like any workplace like that is massively understaffed.
When I got a job when I was shortly after high school working retail, and this would have been like the mid 2000s, and the staffing was pretty fantastic. But like as a few years went by, you could just watch the numbers go down. Not even necessarily of the people that worked there, but the people that were currently in the store. Like the bare minimum required to keep the store open. So like 2 or 3 people is like a line because there's no one else to help out.
You can see it in a drugstore. Like in any given time in a drugstore, besides the pharmacy, you might see 2 people.
That's true. Yeah, there's the one person at the register, and the manager's hiding in the back or something. Maybe they'll come out if there's
and they're probably stocking like the drinks and stuff. They're doing double duty.
One person on call to check you out, and like 1 or 2 other people in the aisles that you may or may not see if you happen to be going to those aisles. Because, yeah, like you just said, they're stocking or taking inventory or whatever it is they're doing.
And those are big retail locations. They used to function off of like teams of like, you know.
Yeah, this is like a CVS. Like it's a big deal.
Large teams of people used to work in these places. It wasn't just a thing. Like, I remember even going to like a toy store when I was a kid. Many people would be working in that toy store. It wasn't just like, you know, 2 people. It would be many.
Yeah, now it's a regular thing where you're like, where can I find somebody to help me find what I'm looking for? This
just the one person at the register getting murdered. It's like, especially at GameStop when there's a trade-in, there's one person at the register while like all the phones are going off, and
if they're lucky, there's one person controlling the phones and one person controlling the customers in the store.
If they're lucky, yeah. When I worked, there were 3 to 4 people working at GameStop at a time. And that's not like it is.
Yeah,
now.
Like 1 or 2 people to help out with whatever, and 1 or 2 people running the registers.
Yeah, no, it's. So our point is that workers have been getting the shaft for a very long time, and always have, really.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
I mean. We've shown that like if people could get away with slavery, they would. That's
the whole thing, yeah. And like, watch what happens when the minimum wage goes up. All of a sudden, they're going to start staffing people for 15-20 hours a week instead of 40.
Yeah,
like anything to not
ridiculous.
Pay.
It's ridiculous. So, and if anybody's listening from that corner of the world, don't let them intimidate you. They need you. They need you in order to function.
That is the whole thing. If you say, fuck you, I'm not putting up with this, and I'm just staying home today, even if they fire you, like, they're still fucked.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, we're getting off of our high horse. I'm sure there are plenty of people that are rolling their eyes at what we just said, but
go eat your anti-masturbation Kelloggs cereal, which
exactly.
Genuinely is an alright cereal, but
Frosted Flakes are the exact opposite. Which is
I love those as a kid, but like
I can't eat them now. It's just sugar flakes. Yeah.
Well, that's I could, but
sugar isn't a flavor.
I'd have to really space it out. Like, I can't just eat a bowl of Frosted Flakes. That's insane.
I can eat Frosted Mini Wheats though. That's the thing. I can eat Frosted Mini Wheats. Yeah, but that's because it has less surface area. I think.
Yeah, I prefer Frosted Flakes, but I can't just gobble that stuff down. There's no way.
Yeah, no. You realize when you get older how like sweet stuff is, and you're like, I don't even like soda all that as much as I used to anymore. You know, like it's just like, God, like
you know what's funny? Like, honey is the classic example of having a reputation for being sweet, but like I'd never really had just straight up honey before. Like, you put honey in stuff, but like one time a few years ago I had some baklava, and just like.
Sure, and that's on the
top,
right?
I couldn't believe how sweet that was. Like, I know honey is sweet to the point where you call your girlfriend honey, but like damn though, it almost hurts to eat.
That's the sweetest thing I've ever tasted, and I've eaten a heaping bowl of sugar.
Yeah, right. I love that. What an idiot.
What? Look at him go. But anyway, yeah.
That's like just barely enough to be lower than a lethal dose. I shouldn't have had seconds. Why the fuck?
But anyway, we got to move on from that, and there are a lot of supply chain stuff are finally catching up to certain sectors, and in particular, it seems to be hitting the retro gaming community particularly hard currently.
Yeah, because computer chips.
Yeah, well, mostly because FPGAs and things like them are used in the automotive industry. Quite a bit. So any shortage in those parts go to automotive manufacturers.
Who needs a car, really? I want to play infinite Nintendo games.
But yeah, so as a result, some major players in the retro gaming community, that would be the Everdrive designer Crix, and also the retro AVS designer. They're at retrousb.com, I believe.
Yeah, the AVS, for anyone who doesn't know or doesn't remember, is an FPGA Nintendo and Famicom system. It's kind of like the Analogue NT, but it's like a version that's not fucking $500.
Yeah, in fact, I would say that it was the best alternative to the Analogue system. In fact, it may in some ways be better because it's not as expensive and does relatively the same job.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. I mean, we have talked about this before, but yeah, it doesn't have the heavy metal parts, which are cool, but you don't need. It's HDMI out only and not composite component out, which... if you're using an HD TV, then whatever, you're fine. And it does not have the Famicom microphone support on the controller, but the games that would require that are super esoteric. Like, the most mainstream it gets is Japanese Zelda, but, like, why would you play that unless you're Japanese? So, like...
Takeshi's Challenge has...
Yeah, you're not playing that. The whole game's a troll.
And even Japanese people can't beat that. Like that
that
section
game's bullshit.
Of that game.
But like like that was my main thing though. I'm like, what if I want to kill the Pulse voice in Zelda? And I was like, I'm never gonna do that. I'm not paying $300 extra to do something that I'm actually not going to do. So I'll just take the AVS. It's fine.
Yeah. The AVS is actually excellent. I don't know if you know this in particular, Lotus, but the buttons on the AVS are literal NES buttons. Like the
I did not know that actually. I know it's authentic, but damn.
The power and reset buttons are actually overstock from the original.
Oh, that's great.
Manufacturing run.
Yeah, and I will mention, I said it a second ago, but one of the cool features of the AVS is that it is also a Famicom. It has Famicom hardware, so you could just put in a Famicom game without mods. Mm-hmm. And what's also cool about this is another esoteric thing that I doubt I'll ever actually do, so I don't even know why I'm touting this, but if you ever want to play the Japanese version of Castlevania 3, which uses extra sound channels on the system, even if you imported that game and got it to work on your Nintendo system, it would just sound like Castlevania 3, but you get the full sound experience via a Famicom, and an AVS will do the trick as well.
Yeah, so I would use that. I actually have that and Gimmick and a few other
like I don't have Japanese Castlevania 3, but like let me tell you, it hits very different.
Yeah, that's actually why when I go to play NES games, like nowadays, I have an HDMI modded Famicom AV Famicom, which is actually an extreme rarity right now. You can't get that HDMI mod anymore. Because of the guy who made it is the lead designer for Analogue.
Oh, jeez.
So he doesn't make it anymore.
Wow.
So I actually have a very rare thing at the moment.
Well, and going back to our topic, by the way, the AVS is about to become pretty rare.
Yeah, so the parts that the FPGA and a couple of the other parts are very automotive focused, and he is saying that the long and short of it is that he put in an order, and the people that he ordered from basically duped him, and told him that the parts were on their way when they never were, and he, as a result, has to is basically stating that he won't be able to fulfill pre-orders like that people have made all along. Yeah. For the AVS until basically 2 years from now, 2023.
Yeah, which is insane, and
which is ridiculous.
And he offered a full refund for anyone.
And
who
he's
wanted
a
to
really
get that,
nice guy.
He's known everybody. Yeah, he's being cool about it.
He's known to be a cool guy. Like he has a lot of heart in his designs and in his communications and all that kind of stuff. So
this is not him like, oh god damn it, you didn't fulfill my order. Like, he got screwed, and he's doing the best thing he can about it. It just sucks for everybody.
Yeah. And he's long made like new NES games like that are fan made, and he manufactures those. He does a lot of cool things. But this is like his bread and butter is this AVS system that he designed, and it's really a shame because it's a really good product, and there's not really an alternative right now. I don't think there are.
Yeah, because the Analogue NT Mini is discontinued.
Sold out. Yeah, sold out and discontinued. So basically the only FPGA alternative for NES gaming right now is a non-cartridge solution, which would be MiSTer. And I would not be surprised if it becomes very difficult to get a DE10 Nano very shortly, because it's the same kind of problem, right? So a DE10 Nano is like an Intel product, which is basically like a usable FPGA board. If you are interested in a MiSTer at all, or FPGA gaming at all,
now's the time. Yeah.
Now's the time to buy a DE10 Nano, even though it's a little pricey. It's just that you might not be able to find one for a couple of years, at least. And that's a scary thought, because we never had this problem. A lot of the problems have been kind of surface level, and now it's just this is like the actual main component is not available now, which is really scary. I mean, it really stinks. We're used to things moving ahead and being like, okay, well, the thing I bought is getting replaced by something better. So that's usually the problem. They stopped making this. They stopped making this one thing because they improved on it, but now it's just not available at all. And that sucks. People literally can't even make this for you. Not because and it's gonna soar in demand. Like, people are going to be able to sell these things on the secondary market for insane amounts of money, because people are going to be fiending for it. While YouTubers are bragging about what they have, or not bragging, but
that's what always pisses me off. It's the same thing with scalped anything. Don't fucking pay those prices, you jackasses. Punish the scalpers for even trying to offer them for that.
I don't know.
You can wait a little longer
it.
before you buy your MiSTer.
The only thing that makes sense to me in that market is that there must be people that are irresponsibly using credit cards. That is the only thing that makes sense to me, because I would not think that the people buying this would have the job to support the kind of money that they're spending on games. It doesn't make sense to me.
Going to the next subject, right, from the AVS, a similar problem was happening with certain Everdrives. But, an Everdrive...
Almost all of them, actually.
Yeah, an Everdrive, if you want to get, the top of the line, what is it, Everdrive 7 or something like that?
7X, yeah.
Yeah, if you want the 7X Everdrive, it's what does Stone Age Gamer have it for? $230-something?
Yeah.
But if you want an Everdrive, or whatever the brand name equivalent is for your Genesis, for your Nintendo, for your Super Nintendo, all this shit, that is so expensive. I know it's cheaper than buying every retro game, because retro games are expensive, but that's still insanely expensive. You can't just grab all those.
Yeah, I bet you're going to be seeing some of those higher end ones, the N64 one is a high end one. The Super Nintendo is the highest end one, I think.
Yeah, whatever the SD2NES is now, SNES is now called.
It's called the Ultra Pack or something like that. Yeah, FX Pack. You're right. The one that can play FX chip games.
That's insane.
They're insanely expensive to begin with, so I bet you they'll start selling for $1,000.
And again, honestly, fuck you if you even think about paying that for a fucking Everdrive.
Yeah, I can see it happening, though.
You have your chance to buy it right now. If you're gonna do that, do that. Don't be a fucking idiot and spend $1,000 on a fucking Everdrive. Just emulate at that point.
Yeah, but we have to spread the word on that at least. Now. Let's get on to some other stuff going on here. We have the Final Fantasy VII Remake has been officially confirmed for PC, which I don't think was a big surprise.
No, why not? Every other Final Fantasy's on PC, or almost.
But they have confirmed that they're going to be trying the $70 model on it.
Yeah, that's fucking ballsy, considering it's $60 at retail on PS4, or it was.
It was. You could probably buy it cheaper than that now.
Well, you certainly can now, but I'm saying, at launch, when it came out, it was $10 less than what they're doing now. Like, are they including the DLC, the other whatever it's called? Then
I didn't read about that. I don't know whether that's an exclusive or not. But yeah, I mean, also keep in mind that like there's no like physical product like there was with the PS4 version too. So,
yeah, that's a whole other thing. Yeah,
yeah.
Like it's been like what, 2 years now? It should be like $30-$40 new on PC.
Yeah, and
30 might be a little low. 40, let's say.
40. I mean, I wouldn't even be mad if it was 60, honestly. But 70.
Well, yeah, I mean
like,
60 because it's
what are you doing?
Quote brand new, but yeah, 70. Go fuck yourself. Like this Final Fantasy VII remake was not a PS5 product. It was a PS4 product.
Yeah, exactly. They did do an update, but yeah,
they did an update, sure, but like day one, $60. Get the hell out of here.
Yeah, and I'm sure Square Enix will blame the development team for it not selling well because they charge too much for it.
Square Enix, just I don't know what their thinking process is.
They're just a very egotistical company that's been around for a very long time, run by like old assholes that ran the company back during the bubble days. So their attitudes are antiquated, to say the least. So anyway, moving on from that, just wanted to say on the Switch we have a couple cool games that have been re-released. We have Shovel Knight Pocket Dungeon, and also Loop Hero. We have talked about both of these in the past during Nintendo Directs. And Shovel Knight was a game that was rescued from iArcade or Apple Arcade.
Yeah, Apple Arcade, I think.
And Loop Hero just looks cool. It has a really cool art style, and it looks really neat. So I definitely do recommend you checking both of these out. This Shovel Knight game is a puzzle game, but it looks quite fun. Moving on from that, we have a couple fighting game character announcements. I'll let Lotus take that.
Yeah, I'm mildly interested in one and pretty interested in the other. But KOF 15, yet another character reveal, and this one is K9999, which I think is actually pronounced K49. Because Japan just does that.
Yeah.
Like Galaxy Express 999 is Galaxy Express 39. It's just stuff like that. But he's the guy with the cape, and apparently there's some weird story thing. Like, I saw someone in the comments, like, oh, they found a way to get this guy back into continuity. I'm like, what? All right. But he looks amusing as always.
What was he originally from? Do you know?
I don't know. I mean, like, all like the KOF games don't mean anything to me because they're all just dates.
Yeah.
So it's like, 98, 99, like, I don't, whatever. But he's in one of those, I don't know. But
some of them have stories, some of them don't.
Yeah, like, I don't know. Like, KOF is an awesome series, but they're all just years until they started doing 11, 12, 13, 14, so I don't know. And then also Guilty Gear Strive is getting a new character, Baiken, who's a Guilty Gear not fully classic, but she's a very early character from like Guilty Gear X, I guess, maybe, or X2. Yeah. But it's kind of funny. She appeared in Samurai Showdown before she appeared in Strive, but she looks like kind of like the same character, only more with the Strive aesthetic than the Samurai Showdown aesthetic, but same like character design and everything. Looks freaking awesome, and everyone's like, yay, I've been waiting for Baiken, so that's always cool too.
Yeah.
Baiken is the Rurouni Kenshin, like Kenshin Himura.
Oh yeah, character. I used to use him in Double X or Guilty Gear, yeah, Double X, yeah.
Her actually.
Her, that's what I meant.
Kenshin is like voiced by a woman, but is a guy. Baiken's just straight up a woman, and she's missing an arm. And she's
I was just gonna say missing
like
an eye too, probably, right?
I
think she's missing an eye as well.
And missing an eye.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, by the way, she has like an eye patch goggle thing, so you could see that she still has her eye closed with a slash over it, but she's got like a covering for it. It's just like a amusing little aesthetic decision.
Yeah, I always like playing as her.
Yeah, she could do that thing where she stomps on the ground and like kicks up like a board, like you're inside like a dojo or something. She could just do that anywhere. Just boards just come up.
Yeah. Moving on from that, this is something that I'm very hyped up for.
This is
Cuphead
probably
DLC.
The main thing that I'm hyped about. This was shown at the Game Awards, and it's like the one thing I actually cared about from that.
Yeah, so this is the last delicious course.
No. The delicious last course.
Delicious last course.
Do you know why I specify that?
Because DLC.
Yeah, it took me years. I just didn't click for me. It's fucking DLC.
But are they charging for this? I didn't catch that.
I don't know. I just saw that it was going to exist and then avoided the video because I want to be surprised. Cause it's
I want to be surprised by the different forms of the bad guys and stuff. But I did see a little bit of the trailer and then I was like, I don't want to be spoiled anymore. But, it looks amazing.
It's finally coming. It's coming in June.
Yeah, it looks amazing. A whole new island full of new enemies to fight.
Yep.
So.
And this is after you kick the devil's ass, presumably, so who knows what this is going to be.
Finger guns always win.
Snapping the fingers.
But moving on from that, I'm actually pretty excited about this as well. Hyper Gunsport is getting freed from Stadia. So Hyper Gunsport, I believe, was made by Necrosoft Games.
What an appropriate name.
The people who made Oh Dear.
Oh my god, alright.
But, so...
Not bad for a clone.
But yeah, I actually am a big fan of the Necrosoft games. They have Gunhouse and a few other projects that they've worked on, but Gunsport was apparently, like, a lot of fun, and it was... an exclusive for Stadia, so they are now they even have like a Steam page, but this was like the game that a lot of people said was like the indie game that was like worth playing on Stadia, because it was a lot of fun. It's kind of similar to Lethal League in some ways.
That okay.
Yeah, it's kind of like you bounce. It's kind of like weird Pong, like almost like you have two characters on the bottom, or four characters on the bottom. You have like that can control things, and what you do is you bounce this ball back and forth, and it's kind of like Windjammers, but Windjammers is like top down, and this is like a side perspective.
Okay.
So it kind of but you basically shoot lasers at a ball and try to get it into a goal on the end on each other's side. So it's kind of like Windjammers, but it looks like a lot of fun, and I do really want to play it. And I was lamenting the fact that it was a Stadia exclusive for so long.
Yeah.
But I do like the games that this company makes, because they're just pretty rad.
This company seems to be cursed with making games that are just like
on
obscure
dead
and difficult to get. Yeah.
Yeah, dead. I think it's Brandon Sheffield, the guy who like works for it, is like very like wants to make sure his artistic integrity is like upheld, but like to his detriment, I think.
I was gonna say it's like it's like if you didn't know any better, it'd be like, is he a hipster? Like, it's only on Stadia. It's only on this weird service for Vita. Like,
I think that's like part of it. It's he doesn't know how to make money with the like fantastic things he makes. Like it's one of those deals. Like he's like avoiding certain things just because. Like he was talking about how with his game Gunhouse, like Sony had like reached out to him personally to make like a God of War version of it, and he turned them down because like, you know, it was a licensed game that he had nothing to do with that license, you know, so he's just like, I don't want to do that. And he's just like, shit, I need money, like like anybody from Sony like still around, like he's just like, oh, maybe you should have made this thing and maybe built a relationship with a big publisher. I mean, like, it wouldn't have like hurt your reputation. Like, I don't know, he's being a little picky, but I mean, like, his games are great, so I mean, it's just a shame that they're, you know, obscure, just like you said. So I'm really happy to now like have the ability, or, you know, have a shot at it. It's coming out next year, but I'm excited for it. Moving on from that, there was a weird free cave story game released.
Yeah, I got that. Like, I saw a little announcement from GOG, like, oh, here's a thing you could download for nothing. And I'm like, Cave Story something? What?
Yeah, so Cave Story Secret Santa was tweeted out by Tyrone Rodriguez, the owner of was it Niantic? Not Niantic. Nicalis, that's it. Nicalis, and so he also doesn't have the best reputation in the world. We've talked about him and Nicalis and how they basically like steal properties from people that don't know any better. So like that's the reason why they have like certain things under their belt. But apparently, Pixel was the original creator of Cave Story was involved in this game.
Okay.
From a surface level, anyway. I think like there's, he's in the credits. So, for people following Pixel, like the guy who made that, he made an entire game about how he was screwed over by.
Yeah, was that Caro Blaster?
Caro Blaster was had a story that was completely framed on basically somebody getting their game stolen from them.
Yeah, like a manager being able to take over someone's property because of a communication, like a language barrier.
Exactly. So yeah, that's pretty. It's pretty obvious what he's talking about there.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah,
apparently the game is quite great too.
Yeah, no, Caro Blaster's good time too. But yeah, Cave Story, Story Secret Santa, fun little game. Hopefully with the original creator involved. But I haven't had a chance to play it. I don't know if you have, but it has like mixed reviews so far on Steam.
Okay.
But I don't know if that's because people are slandering Nicalis or not, because that's a thing you have to look for. Whether like the game itself is actually good or not. I mean, it's free, so what do you want? It's a free Christmas game. Moving on from that, Persona 4 Arena Ultimax, one of my most favorite fighting games of all time. Actually, I really love this game. It is coming finally to PS4, Steam, and Switch, getting rescued from previous consoles. That would
getting
be PS3
rescued from being one of
360.
very few region-locked games on the PlayStation 3.
Region locked in the weirdest direction.
Although,
too.
Actually, now that I think about it, maybe I'm wrong. Was Ultimax region locked, or was it the first Arena game?
I think both are.
Both. Okay, the first definitely was. I'm not 100% sure about Ultimax.
It's region locked, so Japanese people can't play it.
So Japanese people can't import American copies and still save money despite import fees.
Yeah, the only other game that I know of that is region locked is Stranglehold because of the movie. That's included with it. But
I keep forgetting that has a movie with it.
Yeah.
Especially because it's available on PC now, and I think it's just the game.
Yeah, it's just the game. But you can find Hard Boiled readily available on streaming services.
Yeah.
Hard Boiled's a great movie. It's the movie that made John Woo famous. If that's
oh really? It wasn't Mission Impossible 2?
the movie that copied the plot of Notorious and fucked it all up. Yes. But yeah. This game is a lot of fun. It also has a really, really in-depth story mode. Like, way more than you think.
I think people would have known this when the game came out, but it's been like a decade. This is in continuity with Persona 4, and I think even aspects of Persona 3.
No, there are Persona 3 characters are half the
okay, so there we
cast. Go. This is the first crossover title with those. And before there was Persona Q, which was also a crossover title.
True, although I think
that one's non-canon.
Non-canon.
But there's also a Persona Q2, isn't there?
There is.
Yep. That's basically Etrian Odyssey, though, right?
I
games.
Believe so.
Yeah. But this game is a lot of fun. If you didn't know, this is an Arc System Works fighting game, like
so
Guilty Gear or Blaze Blue. It looks beautiful, and it is a fun game to play. Like the Guilty Gear and Blaze Blue games get so complicated that I don't know how to play them. I do like them, but they're above my head. honestly. But this game is absolutely my speed. It is a lot of fun. I really like the characters in it. I really like playing as them. In fact, it might be the Persona game that I put the most time into, which is saying a lot because I don't put a whole lot into fighting games. But it's a lot of fun. It plays really well. It's very beginner friendly, but also good on a technical end as well. Once you get better, it's just one of those cool, fun games. And at the very least, if you want to play it after playing, Persona 4 Golden, which is a lot more available than it used to be. This
kidding.
is a good thing to pick up. Now, I do think this is a true sequel to regular Arena, Persona 4 Arena. So it does not include the story mode from Persona 4 Arena. So you do not know what happened in between the two games. I don't think they would waste their time in releasing the first game, but it does have a story mode in between Ultimax and the RPG games. So just so you know. And also, there is a substantiated rumor going around that Persona 3 Portable, or some version of Persona 3, is going multi-platform and current. It is currently locked to Vita and PlayStation TV, and not really PlayStation PSP anymore because you can't really download that anymore. But it is a fantastic game, but there is no definitive version of Persona 3, so I really hope...
A definitive version would be Persona 3 Portable Fez.
Yeah. Well, I would think they would even be like a combination of that. Because you can't walk around campus like you did. It was very menu based. The PSP version, P3P. Is what they called it. But you couldn't walk around the school anymore. You kind of just clicked on things.
I guess then ideally it would be Persona 3 Fez with the female playable character and the ability to control your party members during battle.
Correct, and the better graphics. But yeah, they would basically need to remake it. Entirely, which would be worth their time because this is one of the most beloved RPGs ever. This is the game that gave us what Persona is now.
Yeah, America got Persona and half of 2. We got the other half on PSP later, but we got Persona 1 and half of 2, but 3 is what really helped put Persona on the map in the States.
Really, SMT in general. Shin Megami Tensei.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's true. I mean, we had Nocturne, and, nobody knew what that was.
We did, but it didn't become the entire series did not become popular until
Persona 3, and then Persona 4 really hammered it in.
Persona 4 was even more popular, and then 5.
By the time 5 came around, people were actively looking forward to a new Persona game.
Yeah, it was a top-tier franchise at that point. So, What I'm trying to say here is that this is a good thing. This will give people a chance to play this game, a wonderful game again. Has great characters, great story. Was not perfect. You heard Lotus say you couldn't control your teammates. In the original version.
In a
that's
strategy
really
turn-based
stupid.
game, that's infuriating. I can't believe they made that decision in the first place.
It's also a difficult game, too, so, you would want to be able to
the last thing you need is
thing.
for your teammate to do something stupid.
Yeah, exactly. So, I get that they're different people, but, fuck off, come on. You need it. I think this is a credible rumor. I would think it would be stupid of Atlas Sega to hold on to a really influential game like that and not update it. They did it with Persona 3, so that to me that shows that they are caring about that era. So that makes sense to me. Moving on from that, Bulk Slash, a Saturn import favorite from back in the day.
Oh, wait, that was like a mech game?
Correct. Made by Hudson Soft.
I saw a little bit of a thing of that on Twitter. I was like, oh, I never heard of this.
It it was actually a pretty import-friendly game because you could feel your way through it. And
yeah,
it was
it's
fun.
not super plot heavy. It's like Gotcha Force, where it's like, all right, I shoot the bad guys.
But it does have a lot of story and voiceover that were in Japanese that you would completely miss out on, flavor wise. So a fan translation group completely hacked in English and also recorded English dialogue.
Yeah, that is crazy. Like, that doesn't happen.
It really, 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 really awesome stuff. Not only that, but they added an even more unusual feature. They put in virtual on twin stick support if you have those.
That's great.
Which is really neat. It was not in there initially, and that's just really cool. So yeah, I'm really excited for this because I actually did own this game. This was one of the games that I picked up during my heavy importation days, my heavy collecting days, and it's one of those games that, like, hey, what is this? So it's like, and then somebody, one of the old hats would be like, oh, that's one of the games that, like, not a lot of people knows about. That's a really fun one. And it is. So really excited for that. In fact, most of the really, really great Saturn games have been translated at this point, which I'm very happy for. There aren't too many that are, like, out of left field anymore that, like, still need one, that, like, people were fiending for. So, very lucky to be in the world where you could play, like, some of the best RPGs, from that era that never got to America. Like, you have, parts 2 and 3 of Shining Force 3, as well as the fan disc.
And part 2 of Dragon Force 2.
Yeah,
it's
Dragon
part
Force
2,
2.
But yeah, Dragon Force 2.
Yeah, lots of stuff. Tokimeki Memorial, is, I think it has one now. So, no, it wasn't Tokimeki Memorial. It was, Sakura Wars. I'm sorry, Sakura Tyson just got it. Yes. So that's a landmark game that has sequels even to this day. So very excited for this, like, Saturn heavy world that we have now. Very like stuff that was absolutely inaccessible to us back in the day is now something that we can enjoy. And going along with that, the MiSTer project, we talked about the woes with supply chain stuff and how it might affect that, but I did want to mention the fact that there was somebody who put a group in the UK that put out something called the Multi-System, which is honestly the way to go. If you want to get into MiSTer, like, this thing is awesome. It basically turns the MiSTer into a fully functional, like, professional looking console. I would recommend this absolutely to Lotus. It basically takes something that was very, very DIY, and like, where you had to basically pick out the parts you wanted and put them together and assemble them, to basically giving you all the features and a nice looking case all wrapped up, and all you need to do is add a DE10 Nano, which is really, really cool. And it gives you all the features you would want too. It is on the expensive side. It's $230, but if FPGA gaming is something that you want to get into, and you really should if you're into retro gaming.
Well, I mean, I mentioned earlier, like, I mean, if this covers nearly all retro gaming, like, a single flash card is $230.
Yeah, this makes it so it does not have cartridge support, but that's okay. You could just play your ROMs off of it. But essentially, there are mature cores for all kinds of things, all kinds of game systems, including the NES, the Genesis, the Sega CD, not the 32X, unfortunately, the Super Nintendo, I believe lots of arcade stuff. The Neo Geo in particular, and the CPS-1 games, the CS that's the Capcom games, the CPS Dash games, and the CPS2 games, and all kinds of other arcade games have near perfect replications on this platform, which is amazing. It's an amazing feat. Game Boy is on this. All the different versions of Game Boy going all the way to the Game Boy Advance. It's probably the best way to play Game Boy Advance games currently, like at all. It's even better than the GameCube, if you ask me. It's just a fantastic feat what this thing is, and there are working cores in beta now for the PlayStation 1 and the Saturn that are like playing gameplay now. They are not public yet, but they will be shortly, like within another year or two, in terms of fan project time. That is fantastic. Like, imagine having an HDMI compatible version of all of these old systems all in a little tiny box.
Yep. An HDMI compatible Saturn is just like crazy.
Yeah, and a lot of them even have like features that you wish the original had. Like the NES one has like a sprite, like you could take off the sprite limit.
Yeah, I was going to mention that you could have like multiple enemies on screen and they will not flicker.
Yeah, this thing is legit. I have one and it is awesome. If it weren't for the fact that I'm very nostalgic for like the look of an old Nintendo system and the cartridges, like it would be the only thing I would have, honestly, because you can use the original controllers on it too. There are options for that, and the lag is non-existent in a lot of the different cases. So this is the thing to get, and the multi-system makes it easy and looks cool. And not only that, but Hotego, one of the most prolific core developers, is now working on the Neo Geo Pocket Color core, which is one that I've been really wanting, and one of the things that tempted me to get an analog and analog pocket, and now I don't have any urge to get an analog pocket at all, because this will just come to my MiSTer for free from courtesy of a very hardworking person. So this is just really cool. I really love this project. I talk about it from time to time, but it's a really, really neat thing. Moving on from that, this is a kind of a bummer, I guess. I don't know what to think of it because I haven't finished it, but
I haven't started it.
Netflix's Cowboy Bebop has been canceled after one season. First of all, that tells me a little bit about how it ends. Because if it ended like the anime did, there wouldn't need to be. I wouldn't need to be told there could be a second
that's
season.
The thing. I had heard that the season was kind of like the first half. Like I believe we have the fight with Vicious in the church and everything, but like, yeah, like that's clearly not where the series ends. So like, oh well.
Yeah, so the fight in the church happens mid-series in the anime, like smack dab in the middle.
So if that's the case, it's probably the Netflix's finale.
But I do know from watching like 2 episodes of the live action show that they did change quite a bit. They the way certain things happened didn't happen that way, and the certain attitudes towards things are different. So it is a different show. So that is a good thing that they tried something different. I do like the art style. I don't think the editing was... this was a show that could have been, with really tight editing, could have had the same energy as the anime, and it just didn't. Like, the direction was good, but the editing wasn't. Which is actually kind of funny when you think about it, because, like...
editing is the stuff you could take care of afterward and take all the time you need.
I think it was poorly edited, actually. It could have been a little bit more frenetic, and it isn't. Like the fight scenes could have seemed more frenetic and hard hitting, like they were in the anime, and that's actually my major complaint is I think the fight scenes are good and choreographed well, but they don't have the same weight to them, if that makes sense.
You might say that they have difficulty carrying that weight.
Watch the show, kids. Watch the anime. But yeah, it's kind of a shame because like also like the actors are good. Like I like John Cho. I think John Cho is really cool. So it's a shame. But I will watch till the end just so I can give a good perspective because I am not an internet bandwagon person with my opinions. So I'll make up my own thoughts. I may not come to the conclusion that it was all right, pretty good, but not like as good,
I always it just makes me think. Did you ever watch the Red Letter Media Nerd Crew, like their fake podcast videos
where there's just outrage constantly for no fucking reason?
Well, there's some of it, but it's mostly sucking up. But one of my favorite lines in their entire catalog from that show was because I guess they have some
Funko sort of Pops or something like that.
No. They have a sponsorship with maybe like Disney or something. Or
something. That's it.
But there's one line where Rich goes, "Has the check come in yet? Do I like the movie?" It's like, wow.
That's true too. I'm not in a YouTube like outrage person. I'm just not. My opinions are usually like tend to be in the middle about things a lot more. It's just like it was pretty good, or like I'm never gonna say hey that was disappointing. I'll say that but I'm not gonna say this was the goddamn worst thing I've ever seen in my life. I hate it.
Yeah, that's how I feel about most things. Like I don't even know how people have the energy to do the react videos where they're like, oh what, oh like you can't just. Like that can't just be your life where you just like constantly are over animated. That's too much energy. No one has that.
Yeah, I don't get it. I really don't.
I do. It gets the views, especially for the kids who like seeing wacky reactions. But like at some point, I really should put up like an April Fool's video where I watch a trailer for a property I care about, and like. My mouth will twitch a little bit, like, oh, look at that. And then eventually the video ends, and it's like, that was it.
Yeah. No, I get it. But anyway, I guess we unfortunately have to move on to some bummer shit here. I'll let you take this away because you actually broke all of these to me.
Yeah, there's several unfortunate circumstances. So first of all, rest in peace to Keiko Nobumoto, who was, I forgot if it was the scriptwriter or the lead scriptwriter for things we've heard of, like, Wolf's Rain and anime Cowboy Bebop, like a really, like, powerful person in regard to I don't know if direction makes the most sense, but, like, getting those character personalities in there and stuff like that with the writing, it's like, this is what made the shows what they were. Like, a really big deal and will be missed. Somewhat similarly, rest in peace, Masayuki Uemura. You may not recognize the name, but one of the lead designers, again, maybe the lead designer, on the NES and SNES. Like, this person is responsible for a big portion of our childhoods. And depending how old you are as you listen to this, possibly yours as well. The NES and the Super Nintendo were huge. The Nintendo in particular helped get video games in general back into the mainstream after the horrible, horrible crash just a few years earlier. Also, this is a person whose name I think people are going to recognize. Rest in peace, Anne Rice, the creator of the Vampire Chronicles, which, read 'em or not, odds are you've heard of them. There have been at least 2 movies on them. They skipped book 2, weirdly, but there's very famously the interview with the vampire with Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise, and then there was The Queen of the Damned with Aaliyah, I believe it was. Right, and I think nobody liked that movie, but everybody liked the soundtrack.
Right when she just passed away, too, I think.
Yeah. But like I didn't know at the time that was based on a Vampire Chronicles book. It's just a movie, Queen of the Damned. Okay, like I didn't know what it was, but yeah, it's book 3 of the Vampire Chronicles series, like heavily influential books. And even though Stephanie Meyer said that this was not the case, shut up, you're fucking lying. Twilight was totally based on the Vampire Chronicles. Get the fuck out of here.
Not only that, but I believe. Oh wait, no, I'm wrong about that. But I was going to say 50 Shades of Grey was actually slash fiction of Twilight. So there's a lot of inspiration. I mean, like
50 Shades was Twilight, and Twilight, despite saying no, this was not the case, it totally fucking was. Interview with the Vampire.
Modern sexy handsome vampires all stem
who do
from
not
this.
die by sunlight.
Lost Boys was like kind of the only thing like that before that, but after that,
Lost Boys were like scuzzy punks.
Okay, well there you go. But they were still like, you know, they
were 80s badasses with like the hair and the leather jackets.
You had Kiefer Sutherland. He's a handsome guy.
But he was a punk. Like, yeah. I mean, he looked good with like the stubble and everything, but he wasn't pretty boy. He was just like. He was like Stranger Things season 1. He was like the bad boy that some of the girls might be interested in.
Sure.
But even then, he didn't really have that angle in the movie. Like, he was just like cool leader of the punks.
Well, another thing that you may not realize is that how much Castlevania is influenced by Interview with a Vampire. If you do not think
the pretty boy like Alucard and stuff.
Yeah,
like
I was gonna say if you played Castlevania Symphony of the Night and did not recognize how much Richter looks like Tom Cruise in that, I don't know what you've been smoking. But
by the way, I will come back and correct myself really quickly. I said vampires not dying in sunlight. They do, but Lestat got basically immune to that. Lestat got extremely overpowered.
I was just gonna say those books got really odd and weird.
Remember that time you met the devil?
Yeah.
That was a good book, by the way.
But yeah, you wouldn't have True Blood without all this. You wouldn't have like any of that, like the Suki Stackhouse books. You wouldn't have any of that. Twilight, any of that without her. She also made, for what it's worth, a Sleeping Beauty trilogy of erotic fantasy fiction.
Yep. I forgot about that, but I did know that at one point.
Yeah. She started off kind of as a hyper Christian author, and then kind of like delved into this.
She did, but then she went back into hyper Christianity. Like, yeah, I shouldn't have made those books or whatever. But like, I think she eventually came around again.
Yeah, very, very conflicted author, but very influential, and also like hugely influential to her son as well. So, but she passed away at 81, something like that.
80, yeah. Mm-hmm. And then finally, you might know about this more than I do. I'm not great with music, but rest in peace, Mike Nesmith, who was apparently one of the more popular members of the Monkees from back in the day. He was one of the bigger. Like, I don't like. I'm trying to think of a word for this. Like, not effective, but one of the more like maybe influential or productive or something like that members of the group.
So, the Monkees were a British invasion band that were that popped up after the popularity of the Beatles. So, like they were basically one of the Me Too bands of that era. The Rolling Stones and the Beatles were the real thing, and the Monkees were kind of a boy band, like manufactured together in order to capitalize on their success.
Yeah, but it worked. Like you know who the Monkees are.
Yeah, hey, we're the Monkees. Like they made memorable songs. I
can't believe one of their lead members was the villain in Pirates of the Caribbean 2.
Davy Jones. Yeah. But I always thought about that. But they were a cross media franchise before that was even like really a thing. So like they were a TV show that had its own music that they played. So they were primarily known for the show, and then they went on tour as well for Screaming fans and stuff at the time. So you had the real British bands like the Who, Rolling Stones, and the Beatles, but then you had the Monkees, which did make good music, and but like they weren't as authentic, I guess. But still beloved by that era, and like I said before,
love them.
Like I said, still very they've stood the test of time. Like their songs are catchy. I mean, they aren't nearly as influential as the three that I mentioned. The three that I mentioned like changed the course of music history. By being who they were. The Monkees were not that, but they were fun, and they made pop music that was fun. Now, they weren't as influential as the Beach Boys at the time or anything like that. You'll never find them on like greatest albums of all time lists, but you will see them as fun pop culture characters.
Yeah, people talk about them.
Yeah, exactly, and the people in the band were generally likable as well. Like they were people that stuck around. It was Mike Dolenz, Davy Jones, Mike Nesmith, and Peter Tork. Davy Jones was also very popular. In the band.
His was the name I think I heard the most.
Yeah, Mike Nesmith played guitar, vocals. I think he was the lead singer and keyboards. Okay. So like he was like a big like one of the biggest parts of the band. And I think almost all the members like played a lot of the a lot of the instruments in it. So I mean Davy Jones died in 2012, and Peter Tork died in 2019. So Mike Dolenz is still around though. So one member left. But it's just a shame, to hear about that, especially from a band that is generally likable. Like people like them. There's really nothing negative out there about these guys. So
just they can't spell fucking monkeys. The Beatles had the same problem.
I was just gonna say that. But the Monkees were more about having fun and having wacky adventures on their TV show than that kind of thing. And they definitely had a script they were following for sure, but they were kind of like one of the first boy bands, you could say, manufactured boy bands before that was even a thing. Then a lot of people don't know this, but like Sex Pistols were that way as well, even though they were extremely influential.
I thought they were just a JoJo stand, but today I learned something.
But before and then of course you get New Kids on the Block, and that goes off until today, like that tradition of boy bands. We had BTS because of that stuff, but BTSD, BTSD, but all that kind of stuff. So that's a shame. Lot of influential people passed away this week. It's quite the shame. But anything else before we wrap it up there, Lotus?
No, I think that's it.
Okay, that's the show for this week. Please remember to subscribe to the Corrective Consciousness YouTube and SoundCloud pages. While there, please give us thumbs ups, likes, and 5-star ratings on iTunes. Helps promote and spread awareness of the show, and any bit of encouragement helps keep the show going. You can also catch us on Thursday for our sister podcast, Corrective Consciousness, the podcast where we explore the inanity of pop culture. We'll be talking about those game awards that just happened. Finally, you can friend me as vysethebold on pretty much anything. Just give me a heads up.
And you could follow me on my YouTube channel, Lotus Prince. You can hit me up on Twitter at Lotus Prince. And finally, if you are interested in seeing my videos early, I'm doing Salt and Sanctuary, getting in an exclusive live stream.
How are you liking that, by the way?
I beat it a while ago. I'm just uploading it. But it's awesome. It's a cool 2D Souls-like, possibly the first. So if you're interested in seeing that a little bit early, getting in an exclusive live stream. So I'm currently doing The Shape-Shifting Detective. Selecting upcoming games for me to Let's Play, we'll get to that shortly enough, or getting in conversations with me and other patrons on Discord, then perhaps consider swinging by my Patreon account, which can be found at patreon.com/LotusPrince.
Okay. Well, we will just see everybody on Thursday then.
Until next time, everyone.
Bye-bye.